Ukraine will receive another Patriot but may lose Starlink. Why Vence called Zaluzhny and the scandal over friendship. This and more right now on TSN. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and watch the broadcast. I'm looking forward to your comments. And here are a few more topics from today's episode. 50 drones targeted Sumy. The continuous explosions within the city persisted non-stop for an entire full day. Russia does not stop its aerial terror. 1 person killed and 9 wounded in the Sumy region, which was massively attacked by Russian drones. The day before, the enemy launched nearly 50 drones of various types at the city of Sumy. Explosions continued throughout the day. Fires raged at the sites of impact. Oksana Solodovnik will tell us more about what happened.
For a whole day, Russian drones relentlessly attacked Sumy and its suburbs. Enemy drones approached from different directions, sometimes as many as 10 at once. According to our calculations, 47 Russian drones and a guided aerial bomb exploded within the city limits. This day was probably one of the hardest in recent times. If earlier Russian drones mostly passed through Sumy in transit, this time all of them exploded here. The massive attack began the night before and lasted exactly 24 hours. In the sky, the buzzing of drones, the work of mobile fire teams, and explosions echoing one after another could be heard almost continuously. Fires raged at the sites of the strikes. This morning, drone attacks in Sumy continued, though not as intensely. 1 drone struck a gas station and another hit an apartment building where 2 residents sustained shrapnel wounds. Numerous civilian infrastructure sites came under heavy attack. In the city, more than 24 private homes were damaged and many windows were shattered. A school building and several shops were also damaged.
My workday starts at 5 o'clock. I came to pick up some boxes. I came twice, and on the 3rd time, just as I was opening the door, I saw a Shahed drone was flying in. When there was a sudden explosion, I was showered with glass and some kind of metal was flying around. I rushed out, my head was covered in blood.
Everything here was closed. Both the door and the glass ended up all the way over there. A neighbor helped me get up, but everything was destroyed. Everything in the store was scattered everywhere.
There were also drone strikes in the suburbs of Sumy, in the village of Pishchain. There, 5 people were injured. Assistance centers for victims have been set up at the impact sites. Unfortunately, there is also 1 fatality. In the village of Nova Sloboda, which is in the Konotop district, this morning an enemy FPV drone hit a civilian car. The 37-year-old driver was fatally injured. 2 of his passengers were also injured. Oksana Solodovnik, Alexander Levin, Sumy, TSN 101.
With airstrikes on the suburbs and artillery on the city center, this is how the enemy congratulated Kherson on Independence Day. 3 city residents were injured, 4 apartment buildings and 28 private houses were damaged, along with a gas pipeline and several cars. And in Chernihiv region, the Russians attacked with drones, striking several districts and damaging residential and farm buildings. A police officer was injured as a result of an attack on the Zaporizhzhia district. The occupiers struck Bilenke, damaging the house where the law enforcement officer was staying. The Russians also attacked the Kushuhum community with guided aerial bombs and launched over 300 drones at other settlements. According to preliminary information, one of them managed to reach the regional center. In Drobyshev, which is in Donetsk region, the enemy killed 1 person and damaged 5 private houses. 2 people were injured in Kostyantinivka. The Russians dropped 6 guided aerial bombs on this city and shelled it with artillery. There is also 1 person wounded as a result of the night shelling in Iversky. In Kupiansk, Kharkiv region, an elderly woman was killed and 3 more people were injured. In Stary Saltiv, a drone damaged a store and a man was injured. There are also casualties in Korotish. In the village of Pitseredny, a woman was injured by a blast wave. Our defenders repelled 46 enemy assaults in the Pokrovsk direction in just the past day. In addition, Ukrainian forces managed to liberate Mykhailivka and advance south of Mern and north of Merolyubivka. This was announced by the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, Alexander Syrsky. The enemy also actively attacked in the southern Slobozhansky direction. The Institute for the Study of War reported that the Russian army managed to advance in the central part of Vovchansk. However, the situation on the Kupiansk sector remains unchanged. The enemy tried to advance, but as the commander of a Ukrainian battalion operating in this direction explained, the adversary suffers serious losses when attempting to cross the Oskil River. The occupying forces also pressed in the north of the Sumy region, but despite statements from Russian media, they have no confirmed successes there. The enemy also failed to advance in the Borivske-Siversk-Turetska directions and near Chasiv Yar. Meanwhile, a successful offensive in Novomikhailivka was carried out by fighters from the main intelligence directorate, the Artem unit, and the 2nd Assault Battalion of the 3rd Assault Brigade. The settlement has been returned to Ukrainian control. Overall, in the past 24 hours, 159 combat engagements have been recorded on the front, and one more Patriot system for Ukraine. Norway is allocating about $700 million for air defense systems for our country. Today, on his birthday, the Prime Minister of Norway, Jonas Gahr Støre, arrived in Kiev for a visit. Norway is one of Ukraine's key partners, helping not only with funding for weapons, but also supporting Ukraine's energy sector. The President thanked Norway for its support, particularly for strengthening the defense of our skies.
These are our teams.
I want to thank you for the decision to allocate $700 million for the purchase of the Patriot air defense system. And yesterday this was announced, and it will significantly strengthen the protection of our skies. Thank you. This concerns the procurement of exactly those systems with which, as you know, we have a shortage. We hope that Norway's example of assistance in this area will also be followed by other partners, other countries, particularly the Scandinavian states.
Support for Ukraine in 2025 will continue into 2026 as well. This means, in monetary terms, $8.5 billion in 2026, which I have proposed to Parliament. In the past, it unanimously supported our support program, and I am confident that we will be able to maintain this high level.
Volodymyr Zelensky announced a meeting between the Ukrainian and American teams at the end of this week, and it will focus on the possibilities of future negotiations between Ukraine and Russia. Zelensky also reported on talks with Trump's special representative Keith Kellogg, who is currently in Kyiv. On this very topic, just yesterday, the head of the president's office, Andriy Yermak, spoke with Secretary of State Marco Rubio. And there are ongoing contacts between the military leadership and partners to jointly develop security guarantees for Ukraine. And only after that, Zelensky noted it is necessary to find out from the American side whether the Russians are ready for a meeting. At the moment, the Kremlin is not showing any willingness to hold high-level talks between Putin and Zelensky. Just a week ago, the president of Ukraine had a meeting with Donald Trump, and at that time they agreed to organize negotiations in the US-Ukraine-Russia format within a short time frame. And they were even choosing a country for this, Hungary, Switzerland, or Turkey. But later, Trump announced that the White House wanted the leaders of Ukraine and Russia to first meet one-on-one. The Vice President of the United States, Jay Vence, called Valery Zaluzhny after the argument with Volodymyr Zelensky in the Oval Office. But the Ukrainian ambassador to the United Kingdom refused to take the call. These previously unknown details have been reported by the British publication The Guardian, citing its own sources. Reportedly, Vance called Zaluzhny in early March, 3 days after the scandal in the White House, quote, considering an alternative to the problematic Zelensky. Vance's team, quote again, tried various diplomatic and other channels, end quote, to get in touch with Zaluzhny. However, after consulting with the head of the president's office, Zaluzhny then refused to answer the call. The publication concludes that after the scandal in the Oval Office at the end of February, which was largely provoked by Vance himself, the Americans considered various options for replacing the inconvenient president of Ukraine. However, the former commander-in-chief of the armed forces did not play along with them. What exactly did Vance want to propose to our ambassador in London and to the former commander-in-chief? And do you agree with Valery Zaluzhny's decision not to answer that call? Write all your thoughts about this in the comments under the broadcast on YouTube, and of course give us a like. Subscribe to the channel. And I continue with the TSN broadcast. We still have a lot of important news ahead. Support for Ukraine will not weaken. Germany's Vice-Chancellor and Finance Minister Lars Klingbeil has arrived in Kyiv on an unannounced visit. He assured that Berlin will continue to support Ukraine and that assistance amounting to €8.5 billion has already been agreed upon for the medium term. According to the German minister, reliable security guarantees are needed to ensure lasting peace for Ukraine. Lars Klingbeil is proposing, or rather planning, to meet with representatives of the Ukrainian government and parliament. A meeting with his counterpart, Finance Minister Serhiy Marchenko, has already taken place. And of course, they talked about money.
We talked about the fact that if there is a serious negotiation process, we will support Ukraine during the reconstruction. We understand that it is also important to properly equip the Ukrainian army, as well as defense, industry, and the security of cities. And this process will continue. We agreed on this, that these negotiations, which are now beginning, we take very seriously and are determined that Putin will end this war. However, we understand that the euphoria and optimism about the war ending soon, I do not share them, because I see that Ukrainians, of course, hope that the war will end soon. But we must be prepared for different scenarios and support our friends in Ukraine.
In terms of our current situation, everything is fine. Thanks to our partners and thanks to domestic businesses, we are mobilizing sufficient resources to provide for both the armed forces and the civilian population. As long as the war continues, we, of course, count on the support of our partners.
Due to President Karol Nawrocki's veto, Poland may halt funding for Starlink internet for Ukraine. This was reported by the local Minister of Digitalization and Deputy Prime Minister Krzysztof Gałkowski. The official explained that this decision also means the end of support for storing the Ukrainian government's data in a secure location. On social media, Gałkowski accused Nawrocki of blindly attacking Ukraine in the name of political struggle. "I can't imagine a better gift for Putin than disconnecting Ukraine from the internet," he wrote in his post. In addition, the Polish leader used his veto to block assistance to unemployed Ukrainian refugees under the 800+ system. The politician believes that these payments should only be given to those Ukrainians who work and pay taxes in Poland, arguing that Warsaw is in a different financial situation and has already provided enough privileges to Ukrainian refugees compared to Poles. Moreover, the new president of Poland has put forward a legislative initiative according to which, and I quote, "Banderite symbols will be equated with Nazi or communist symbols in the criminal code."
Announcer, I have not changed my mind and intend to fulfill my obligations. I believe that payments should be provided only to those Ukrainians who make an effort and work in Poland. The same applies to medical assistance. There is also, ladies and gentlemen, one important element in this bill that is fundamental for us Poles. It is crucial for eliminating Russian propaganda and establishing Polish-Ukrainian relations based on genuine partnership, mutual respect and sensitivity. I believe that this bill should explicitly address the issue of Bandera and equate the Bandera symbol in the criminal code with symbols associated with German National Socialism, commonly known as Nazism and Soviet communism.
There is no need to tell the Ukrainian president what to do. A diplomatic scandal has erupted between Hungary and Ukraine over the Druzhba oil pipeline. Foreign Minister Andriy Sybiha criticized Budapest on the social network X for its attacks on Kiev, saying, "You do not need to tell the Ukrainian president what to do or say or when to do it. He is the president of Ukraine, not of Hungary." Sybiha also called on Budapest to diversify its energy supplies and become independent from Moscow, as the rest of Europe has done. In recent days, the section of the Druzhba oil pipeline at the Russian-Belarusian border has been constantly targeted by Ukrainian forces disrupting fuel supplies to Hungary. The day before, the local Minister of Foreign Affairs, Peter Szijjártó, once again accused Kiev of attacking their energy infrastructure and specifically accused Volodymyr Zelensky of threatening Budapest on their national holiday. At the press conference, journalists asked the president of Ukraine whether he had gained more leverage over Hungarian Prime Minister Orbán after the strikes on the Druzhba oil pipeline and the appeal to US President Donald Trump, given that Budapest is blocking the opening of the first cluster of accession talks between Ukraine and the EU. And this is how Zelensky responded to the question about relations with Hungary.
Volodymyr Zelensky, we have always consistently supported the enduring friendship between Ukraine and Hungary, and now, at this critical juncture, the very existence of that cherished friendship profoundly depends on Hungary's current and future position regarding these significant matters.
Interpreter, Volodymyr Zelensky used Ukraine's national holiday to threaten Hungary. We firmly reject intimidation from the president of Ukraine. In recent days, Ukraine has carried out serious attacks on our energy supply. An attack on energy security is an attack on sovereignty.
Kate Middleton has become a blonde. Fashion experts and global tabloids are already debating the hair color of the Princess of Wales. Is it natural or the result of a skilled hairdresser's work? Just take a look yourself. With her new hair color, Kate appeared before the cameras during Sunday service and was photographed in the car. A number of experts are convinced that this is the result of the royal family's summer vacation, which Kate, Prince William and their children spent on a yacht near the Greek islands. From there, opinions diverge. Some claim that the sun naturally lightened the princess's hair, while others insist that the highlighted strands were later skillfully colored by a hairdresser. The tabloids all agree on one thing: Kate Middleton's new look suits her very well, and the princess, who recently overcame cancer, looks as if she's just returned from a good vacation.